The day before I went abroad to study, steeling myself as if cutting off my own limb, I ran to bid farewell to the unapproachable campus goddess, Ijun. Why such drastic determination? Because I'd had a crush on her for years, and every time I saw that frosty face of hers, I felt like a timid little quail, barely daring to breathe. Her expression was as frigid as an Antarctic iceberg. She merely asked which university I was attending, and then turned to leave, her departing figure so final, as if I were just some insignificant passerby. I bit my lip so hard I nearly drew blood, ultimately hiding the confession gift behind my back. My heart felt like it was doing somersaults, completely flustered. But if she rejected me, the awkwardness would be unbearable, enough to make me want to dig a hole and disappear. But who would have guessed? Suddenly, lines of bullet comments materialized out of thin air right in front of me, like a barrage flooding the screen during a movie. MC, confess already. She's totally into you. If you don't confess now, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. Putting on such an act. Acts all cold and indifferent in front of the MC, but secretly went home and cried all night, soaked several pillows. Truly a picture of pear blossoms in the rain, pitifully beautiful. Isn't this because the MC is leaving her? The FL gets triggered, tracks the MC abroad, and then imprisons him, right? This plot is straight out of an overbearing CEO novel playbook. Pure love is about to turn into forced love, folks. Grab your popcorn, the drama's starting. I was startled by the dense swarm of comments before my eyes, almost thinking I'd crossed over into some bizarre bullet comment dimension. Subconsciously, I called out her name. Ijun, wait. My shout seemed to make the very air around us shudder. The figure ahead stopped. She turned around slowly, the movement like a slow-motion shot in a movie, and asked, "Is there something else?" Her face still held that indifferent expression, but why did I feel a flicker of nervousness in her eyes? I must have imagined it. On the continuously scrolling comments, the word confess kept appearing relentlessly, like a frantic voice screaming in my ear, overwhelming my senses. Gritting my teeth and steeling myself, I brought the hidden gift out and held it before her eyes. Ijun, I like you. I have for a long time. After saying this, I felt like my heart was about to pound its way out of my chest and leap right in front of her. Ijun's expression froze. The scrolling comments stopped too. The entire world seemed to fall silent, leaving only the pounding thump, thump, thump of my own heart. A few days ago was your birthday. I'd picked out a gift long before, but my smile was tinged with bitterness, probably more bitter than bitter melon itself. If I didn't give it to you now, I said, the words laced with melancholy, I might never get another chance. I spoke with such heartfelt sincerity, I almost moved myself to tears. Ijun's face was obscured by shadows, her expression unreadable. My mind raced. What was she thinking? Was she figuring out how to reject me? Or was she secretly happy? I lowered my head, staring at the ground, feeling my ears burn, hot enough to boil an egg. On the ground before me, the bullet comments unfroze and started scrolling frantically again. Did my connection just lag? Did I miss something important? How did the MC suddenly grow a pair? Is this still the same wimpy MC we know? Same here, totally confused. I feel like I'm watching a drama with a super-duper plot twist. Something's wrong, very wrong. Given how much the FL sims for him, shouldn't she be so ecstatic after his confession that she offers to buy out the entire airport today? But her expression right now? I seriously suspect she's plotting something big. To the commenter above, do you remember what happened on Ijun's birthday? The MC ditched her beforehand to be with female lead no. This plot is more thrilling than a roller coaster ride. Now I remember. The female lead wanted to call the male lead to blow out the candles together, but couldn't find him. She almost had a heart attack from anger. That scene must have had her internally screaming, "My sweetheart, where on earth did you go?" Birthday? The barrage comments reminded me. That day, I clung to Ijun, chatting and trying to cheer her up, but she seemed distracted, as if preoccupied with something important. At the time, I was so upset, feeling like a neglected little fool. In a fit of anger, I deliberately dragged my senior out for some air. By the time I cooled down and returned, the private room was empty. Turns out, she had looked for me afterward. Honestly, based on my years of reading web novels, Ijun probably wanted to confess that day, but the protagonist ran off with another woman halfway through. This is textbook, chasing love straight into the crematorium foreshadowing. Opie, you're not wrong. I saw Asian secretly blowing up heart-shaped balloons, over of them, all by herself, each with a necklace stuffed inside. What kind of fairy tale romance is this? I'm so jealous. TSK, how innocent. If I were the male lead, I'd propose on the spot. I jerked my head up to look at Asian, but she stared back at me expressionlessly, her gaze as if she were examining an alien life form. After a long pause, she let out a mocking chuckle. You like me? Prove it. Prove it? How do you plan to prove you like me? That laugh was like a tiny knife stabbing straight into my heart, making it bleed profusely. All the tenderness and emotion from earlier vanished under her icy interrogation. I took a deep breath, so forceful it felt like I could suck all the air out of the room, and glared at Asian in fury. She remained indifferent, watching me as if I were some random stranger with no connection to her at all. All right, folks, no need to watch further. The plot is about to return to its original trajectory, forced love via imprisonment. Brace yourselves for the thrilling developments ahead. Just as I was about to turn away in anger, seeing the barrage predict my actions made me too embarrassed to leave. My heart felt like two little people were fighting inside, one telling me to go, the other to stay. My gaze returned to Asian's face. It was a pale, beautiful face, with long, narrow eyes that tilted slightly upward at the corners, exuding an ancient charm, like a fairy who had stepped out of a painting. Maybe it was the barrage's influence, but I actually thought I saw a faint flush around the delicate curve of her eyes, like the rosy hues of a sunset. It was breathtaking. I sighed, took 2 steps forward, and lifted my chin with the determination of someone about to save the world. At this moment, the distance between us was so close, close enough to feel her breath, to catch the faint scent of her perfume. It made me a little dizzy. She lowered her eyes, staring at me in confusion. Her pure black pupils reflected my figure, and in her eyes, I looked like a nervous little kid. I steeled myself internally, then suddenly leaned in and kissed her lips. Cold, soft, slightly trembling. That was my immediate impression of Asian's lips. Honestly, in all my years of existence, I'd never kissed anyone before. All I knew was to press my lips against hers. I had no idea what came next, flailing around like a headless fly. I froze against her lips, feeling the thunderous heartbeat of the person in my arms. No sound of breathing. She had forgotten to breathe too. After who knows how long, she abruptly took a step back, staring at me with an unreadable expression. What was that supposed to mean? Her face was completely red, pale by nature, her blush spread faster than most, even the skin at her collar flushing a delicate pink, like a ripe red apple. My mood finally lifted greatly, and I grinned as I said to her, "Didn't you want me to prove I like you? Is this enough? Or how about this?" Greatly encouraged, I stepped forward again, held her head, and gave her lips a loud smack. The sound was probably loud enough for everyone around to hear. If you still don't believe me, how about I tear up my plane ticket right now? I put my arms around Ijan's neck and said softly, "I'll just stay by your side. Wherever you go, I'll go, until you believe me." I said this with such deep affection, I almost moved myself. Before the words had even left my mouth, Ijan violently ripped my hands off her neck and glared at me furiously. "Lingyu, have you had enough of this?" That shout was practically fiercer than a lion's roar. I felt like my ears were going deaf. She pushed me so hard I staggered violently, nearly falling flat on my face. Barely steadying myself, I stared at her in shock, not understanding how the atmosphere had plummeted so suddenly, like a roller coaster dropping from the summit to the valley floor in an instant. "Go on, female lead, keep acting up. This is how you lose your man. Just wait. You'll be crying and begging the male lead to come back later. Maybe you finally worked up the courage to confess." What is she doing? This is totally the rhythm of destined to die alone. The bullet comments hit a nerve. I clenched my teeth tightly, refusing to let the humiliating tears fall, thinking to myself, I'm an upright man. How can I cry so easily? But she remained completely oblivious, her voice still icy as she said, "Linyu, do you like Lu Shirsher that much? Enough to willingly put on this act with me just so you can stay here and be with her?" I looked up blankly, the tears escaping my control and finally falling like pearls from a broken string, impossible to stop. "Huh? What kind of plot twist is this? Where did Sister Jean's sentence even come from? I feel like my brain can't keep up. Don't tell me she thinks baby you confessed to her just so he could stay and secretly get together with the second female lead? That leap in logic is bigger than a black hole. And then what? Ijin asked coldly. You stay, date me, and be with Lu Shirshir at the same time? After that, are you planning to marry me while cheating with Lu Shirshir? Lin Yu, do you have any basic sense of morality? You've truly disappointed me. The angrier she got, the faster the ambiguous pink flush faded from her face, disappearing without a trace. Her expression turned blacker than the bottom of a pot. Such avant-garde thinking. I find this hard to comment on. I feel like I'm watching some overly dramatic soap opera. Everyone, does anyone remember? It was Sister Jean who secretly told Baby Yu's parents after a birthday that Baby Yu was dating a green tea bitch, which led to his parents urgently sending him abroad to study. Her thinking this way now is understandable. This female lead is quite scheming. I feel like I need a moment. This plot is too complicated. Truly a dark and scheming type, so insidious. This plot makes me want to send razor blades to the scriptwriter. Glancing at the text on the bullet comments, I finally realized Ijin was actually behind my parents sending me abroad. The anger of being tattled on behind my back, combined with the fury of rejection, old grudges, and new hatred merged into a sea of fire rushing to my head, and I instantly lost all reason. Believe it or not, who would want to like a despicable person like you? You think I can't live without you? I threw the gift box I still hadn't given her harshly onto the ground and turned to leave like an enraged bull. Sigh, it's ruined again. This plot is truly one wave after another. So, things will still head towards the imprisonment we all love to see. I can't wait to see what happens next. Wait, what is she doing? What is Ijin doing? I feel like something big is about to happen. You, Bao, turn around quickly. There's a surprise waiting for you behind. Son, turn around. If you don't turn around now, you'll miss your true love. Of course, I didn't turn around, nor did I pay attention to the flood of bullet comments, because my face was covered in tears. At that moment, those tears, I couldn't wipe them away fast enough. I felt like a child abandoned by the whole world. Liars, they're all liars, saying Ijin likes me. If she liked me, would she yell at me like that? Would she question me like that? I see she doesn't like me one bit. Having my parents send me abroad was also just to get rid of me, to cast me far away. I fiercely wiped away a tear and walked into the security checkpoint. My retreating figure couldn't have looked more desolate. Why is Sister Jinzi still squatting down? She isn't regretting it, is she? Did the gift you Bao gave her break when it fell? I think it looked like it was made of glass inside. This gift, I guess it's completely shattered. What? Those bullet comments wanted me to see was, did she just pick up the gift I gave her? I pondered inwardly, but still didn't turn back, carrying my jacket and walking towards the boarding gate, my steps as heavy as lead. Something's wrong. Sister Jinzi is having a heart attack. Everyone, call quickly. I whipped my head around abruptly. Through the glass, I saw where I had just been standing. A white figure was curled up on the ground in pain. It was Ijin. Her face was deathly white, and she was still tightly clutching the gift I gave her in her hand, a bracelet. Only the beads of the bracelet had long scattered all over the floor. The broken beads cut her hand, and bloodstains dyed the airport lobby tiles red. I cried out in panic and hurriedly ran towards her, only to be stopped by the security staff at the checkpoint. Through that glass barrier, I watched helplessly as crowds rushed towards her from all directions. After a short while, someone brought a wheelchair and wheeled her away. From beginning to end, she tightly held on to that broken bracelet that had cruelly pierced her hand. Seeing her taken away, I finally snapped back to reality. The security check lady looked at me sympathetically and gently reminded me that if I wanted to go back to the airport lobby, I could use the passage on the other side. Not going back. I wiped the tears from my face and muttered to myself, it's useless going back. She doesn't believe I like her anyway. My heart felt like it was being crushed by a heavy stone, so heavy. During the hour flight, I drifted in and out of sleep. People were constantly chatting in the bullet comments. From their messages, I gathered a lot of information. Firstly, if my story with Ijin were treated as a novel, then she and I were destined to have a tragic ending. In this story, I am a proud young master in love with Ijin, but always hurt by her coldness. To save my own dignity, I always pretended to be intimate with senior student Lou Schercher. Reading this, I felt a pang of guilt. Before this, I had indeed used Lou Schercher many times. Every time Asian gave me the cold shoulder, I would drag Lou Schercher in front of her, implying that there were plenty of others who loved me. Lou Schercher was also happy to cooperate. To be honest, I always believed that liking someone meant being good to them, wanted to buy them things they liked when you see them, wanted to be the first to share enjoyable things with them. Therefore, I always thought Ijan's coldness toward me over all these years was because she didn't like me at all and might even find me annoying. But the bullet comments said Ijan was madly in love with me. On the contrary, Lou Schercher didn't like me at all. She was only willing to flatter me because being with me meant years less struggle. The comments also said Lou Schercher has a childhood sweetheart, and the two of them are the protagonists of another book. After Lou Schercher achieves high status, she will ditch me, the man she used, and fulfill the from school uniforms to wedding dress promise with her childhood sweetheart. I didn't want to believe what the Daimu comments were saying, but I had to, because based on all the facts, everything they said was true. My mind was racing, a tangled mess of thoughts. Looking at the clouds outside the window, I couldn't help but let out a long sigh. They made my good boy emo. This plot is too heart-wrenching. I'm going to mail razor blades to the scriptwriter. You bow, don't be sad. The tough days are still ahead. When Sister Jean goes nuts and locks you up, that's when you'll truly be helpless, crying out to heaven and earth with no response. This plot is the definition of angst-filled romance. Stop talking, you're making me want to cry. Two people in love? Why can't they just be together properly? I really want to play matchmaker for them. It's because Yi-jun has low self-esteem. She always felt her poor health made her unworthy of Yubao. Wanted to avoid him but couldn't resist getting close. Then loses her cool completely when she sees Yubao with other women. I can't even. This female lead is a walking contradiction. Actually, you can't really blame Yi-jun for her twisted way of expressing emotions. Raised by that cold grandmother since childhood, she never knew what love was, only possession. Then subconsciously, because she liked Yubao, she couldn't bring herself to be possessive, agonized back and forth, and ended up messing herself up completely. Her background is so pitiful, I actually feel a bit sorry for her. Seeing that comment, I suddenly remembered Yi-jun from our childhood. When I saw her again, my eyes instantly filled with tears, like a puppy abandoned for a long time finally finding its owner. I cried and rushed towards her, shouting loudly, "I missed you so much. Do you have any idea how miserable I've been?" I expected a warm response, for her to affectionately pat my head like before, but she merely stiffened slightly, then took an almost imperceptible step back. That tiny step, however, felt like a vast chasm separating us. She wore a polite, yet distant smile, the former warmth gone from her eyes. Her unfamiliar manner made it seem as if I were just a casual acquaintance she'd recently met. My heart, full of joy, was instantly doused with cold water. I felt both confused and angry. Where did the Yi-jun who used to share everything with me, the one I was so close to, go? How could she become so distant in such a short time? After that, the way we interacted completely changed. Every time we met, it was either sharp verbal clashes or mutual disdain expressed through sarcasm. The beautiful memories of the past seemed buried beneath this icy barrier. Until Lou Schercher appeared, things became even more complicated. Lou Schercher always seemed to intentionally or unintentionally hover between Yi-jun and me. Her presence made Yi-jun's temper even more unpredictable. Sometimes, just seeing me exchange a few words with Lou Schercher would make Yi-jun suddenly turn cold and walk away. Other times, she would inexplicably lose her temper and lash out at me. Her volatile attitude left me completely bewildered. I grew increasingly curious about her behavior, wanting more and more to understand what she was truly thinking. Sitting on the plane, gazing out the small window at the boundless sea of clouds, my thoughts drifted involuntarily back to the moments spent with Yi-jun. After getting off the plane, standing inside the airport, a thought flashed through my mind. I took out my phone, fingers tapping quickly on the screen, and sent a message to my grandfather. "Grandpa, back when I took my middle school entrance exams, was Sister Eugene sick?" It wasn't long before Grandpa's reply came. Frowny face. "That's right. She needed heart surgery around that time. She didn't let me tell you. I remember you cried and fussed for a long time. Immediately after, Grandpa added, frowny-faced. Little June's health wasn't good for those few years. Once I caught her secretly wiping away tears, saying she was afraid you'd be sad if she died. Sigh, you two were so close back then. Who knew you'd grow distant as you got older? Seeing Grandfather's message felt like a light piercing the darkness in my heart. All my doubts vanished instantly. So, her past aloofness stemmed from her love for me, from her fear that I couldn't bear the pain of losing her. But I was still curious. What exactly happened to make her become so extreme later, even developing the idea of imprisoning me? At this thought, a strange sense of anticipation surged within me. Anticipation for unraveling this mystery soon, and anticipation for rediscovering our past intimacy with her. Is it just me, or does it feel like Sun is fired up again? Whoa, exciting imprisonment countdown begin. Watching these scrolling comments, my heartbeat involuntarily quickened, a mix of nervousness and excitement spreading through me. Seeing that comment, I subconsciously stood straighter, my eyes wide with a mix of shock and pleasant surprise. Shocked because Ijun had just had surgery not long ago, yet she was already rushing about nonstop to acquire a manor. That swift, decisive energy was truly her style. Pleased because her having the energy for such things meant her recovery must be going well, which greatly eased my mind. As for the imprisonment mentioned in the comments, I mentally shook my head, thinking it unlikely. After all, she had been so cold to me before, even rejecting my confession. How could she suddenly want to imprison me, to possess me completely? I couldn't figure it out no matter how I thought about it. Leaving the airport, I dragged my suitcase to my accommodation. Before I could even properly rest, my phone rang. I glanced at it. It was a friend calling. I answered, and my friend's slightly excited, gossipy voice came through. Did you know, when Lu Shirsher heard you were sent abroad, she immediately went to your parents and solemnly vowed to them that she would absolutely never give up on you? Coincidentally, your parents were visiting Ijun in the hospital at that very moment. Ijun had just woken up when she heard Lu Shirsher telling them, right by her bedside, that she wouldn't marry anyone but you in this lifetime. She even used Ijun as an example, saying life is fragile and one must seize the person they love promptly. Hearing this, I couldn't help but facepalm, wondering what on earth Lu Shirsher was up to. My friend continued. Ijun turned deathly pale with anger right then. Without saying a word, she yanked out her 4-needle and ran towards the rooftop helipad, demanding to fly to City Y. After hanging up, I sighed helplessly. This plot development was more dramatic than a TV show. I really didn't know if Ijun was provoked by Lu Shirsher's words, or if she genuinely took the life is fragile part to heart, causing such a strong reaction. But regardless of the reason, as long as she could face her own feelings and was willing to be with me, I would be content. Filled with anticipation, I stepped onto campus, holding my materials. I walked out of the classroom, overjoyed. As I was heading down the steps, suddenly the scrolling comments, which had been trickling with idle chat, exploded as if a powder keg had been lit, instantly buzzing with excitement. Here she comes. Yo, Sister Jean just recovered from a major illness and already lurking in the corner. I just climbed out of bed, flew on a plane, set up a manor, didn't even sleep, and now rushing here to watch you bow. Sister Jean, with this determination, you could succeed at anything. Seeing these comments, my heart tightened. I subconsciously looked around, and, sure enough, behind a nearby tree, I saw that familiar figure. It was Ijun. She wore a simple white dress, her hair casually tied back. Her face was still a bit pale, but her gaze was incredibly determined. Just as I was about to step towards her, the phone on me suddenly rang. I looked down. The screen displayed the 3 characters, Lu Shirsher. Just in that instant, out of the corner of my eye, I caught sight of Ijun behind the tree. Her expression suddenly darkened, like the sun obscured by clouds, and her entire aura turned cold. Helpless, I tucked the documents under my arm and pressed the answer button. Xiaoyu, I'm sorry you've suffered. Lu Shirsher's voice came through the receiver, gentle and polite as always, but at this moment, it irritated me somewhat. Suffered? What are you talking about? I was completely bewildered, having no idea what she meant. Lu Shirsher paused, then, don't hide it from me. I've heard everything. To stay in the country and be with me, you went so far as to confess to Ijun. Me, I was utterly speechless inside. What on earth was this? When did I ever say I confessed to Yijin just to be with her? Just as I was about to refute her, I saw the live comments explode like a boiling pot. Haha, what do we do? She actually believed it. Let's guess what she plans to do next. Ignoring the comments, I was about to explain things clearly to Lu Shirshir when she spoke again. Xiao Yu, even though you couldn't stay in the country, don't worry. I'll definitely apply seriously to schools in City A and try my best to reunite with you. Wait for me. With that, she hung up, leaving me holding the phone, completely bewildered. Oh, so that's her game. Guess if this pauper comes to study in City A, will she expect Yu Bao to cover her living expenses and tuition after all? I only applied to City A schools for you. Wait, I have a question. Can Sister Jun hear Yu Bao's phone call from that far away? Probably not. Definitely not. Sister Jun doesn't have supersonic hearing or anything. But why do I feel like she heard everything? Look at her face. Alerted by the comments, I abruptly looked up towards Yijin behind the tree. Her face was deathly pale, like freshly fallen snow. Her eyes were deep pools, burning with furious flames, looking cold and terrifying. Holy shit, what's going on? Sister Jun isn't bugging Yu Bao's phone, is she? Actually, I wanted to say this for a while. Something felt off back when Sister Jun found Yu Bao with her on her birthday. It was like she had a listening device on Yu Bao. You two commenters before just arrived, obviously haven't watched from the beginning. Ever since Lin Yu got his first phone, Yijin has been using tech on him. Bugging, tracking, that's nothing. She even monitors Lin Yu's heart rate, blood pressure, and sleep quality. That's too twisted. Seeing these comments, I too was shocked speechless. Recalling various details from before, it seemed there really were some things that hadn't felt right. For example, every time Luke Shirshir and I were together, Yijin would always appear with uncannily perfect timing. She also seemed to know about some of the chat logs on my phone. Could it be she really has been monitoring me all along? As this thought surfaced, I felt both shocked and strangely moved. Shocked by her craziness, moved by how much she cared about me. At this moment, I finally understood. She truly loved me to the point of losing her sanity. The live comments were still scrolling frantically, flashing past one after another. Twisted, better than Lu Shirshir, who strings Linu along, uses his resources, and then claims she looks down on rich young masters like him who only have family background. Please, is being fancied by her such a great honor? I no longer had the mental energy to pay attention to these comments, completely immersed in a shock reverberating within me. Yijin loved me. This love was so intense, so overwhelming that it drove her to do such crazy things. I gazed at Yijin, feeling hot blood rush from all corners of my body into my heart, an indescribable emotion churning violently in my pounding chest. I could no longer suppress the impulse within me and involuntarily started walking toward her. His heart and eyes were so full of her that he completely forgot he was on the stairs. Careful! Just as Ling Yu missed a step and nearly tumbled down the stairs, a hand suddenly reached out and grabbed him firmly. Still shaken, he turned his head and saw a beautiful woman with blonde hair and blue eyes, a concerned smile on her face. Ling Yu followed her gaze towards Yijin in the distance. He saw worry cloud Yijin's face as well, her eyes fixed intently on him. In that instant, it was as if Ling Yu saw her deep-seated care for him reflected in her eyes. Oh, it's you. I just saw you in class. We're in the same class, right? Before the blonde woman finished speaking, Ling Yu saw Yijin's face turn even paler. She pressed her lips together tightly, as if forcefully suppressing something, then turned to leave. Oh no, she must think the person I said I liked is Lu Shirshir. Panicked, Ling Yu quickly waved goodbye to the blonde girl and chased after Yijin's retreating figure. Yijin, don't go! Ling Yu shouted her name loudly, his voice echoing across the campus. Her figure paused for a moment, but she didn't stop and continued walking forward. Ling Yu quickened his pace, caught up to her in just a few strides, and ran in front of her, placing his hands on her arms. He asked breathlessly, "Since you came to see me, why are you running off without a word?" She frowned, trying to pull her arms away from his grasp, muttering, "Who said I?" Ling Yu pulled back her sleeve abruptly. The pale violet bracelet lay quietly coiled around her pale wrist like a bond connecting their feelings. "If you don't like me, why are you wearing the bracelet I gave you?" Ling Yu stared intently into her eyes, searching for an answer in her gaze. She stared at his fingers tightly gripping her wrist, remaining silent. Pressing on, Ling Yu continued, I remember scattering the beads yesterday. How's it perfectly fine now? Did you fix it right away this morning? Yijin still said nothing, but a faint blush spread across her cheeks, beautiful and shy like the sunset clouds on the horizon. Ling Yu knew she couldn't keep up the pretense much longer. Suddenly, she clenched her jaw as if having made a great resolve, looking at Ling Yu with a burning gaze. She said loudly, Yes, that's right. I like you. I like you so much I'm almost going crazy. What are you going to do about it? Her sudden blunt confession left Ling Yu flustered and at a loss. He opened his mouth but didn't know what to say. Seeing his silence, she asked sharply again, Why aren't you talking? Didn't you say you liked me? Want to come visit my home in City A? The live comments discussing the scene seemed to freeze as if hit by a petrification spell. Then, like a surging tide, they began flooding the screen with tsunami-like intensity. Home in City A? The manor. A manor isolated for miles around. Imprisonment. Basement. It finally came to this. Yijin has finally completely snapped. Watching the comments flood the screen so frantically, Ling Yu surprisingly felt a surge of excitement too, as if about to embark on a thrilling adventure. He narrowed his eyes, looking at her with a smile, and deliberately teased, All right, you're inviting me to your home. I couldn't be happier. After saying that, Ling Yu cheerfully got into her passenger seat. She sat in the driver's seat, hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles turned white, yet she hesitated to start the car. Ling Yu looked at her somewhat puzzled. Just as he was about to ask what was wrong, he saw her slump back against the seat as if deflated, her voice tinged with helplessness and retreat. Forget it. Just get out. As expected, she backed down again. Sister Jin still can't bring herself to imprison Ling Yu. Ling Yu didn't care if she was having second thoughts. He just stared at her, pretending to be angry, and said, Yijin, are you messing with me? As he spoke, he angrily slapped the design documents in his hand, making sharp slapping sounds. I couldn't let her give up so easily. Yijin glanced at the documents, and a fire reignited in her narrow eyes, like a fuse being lit. Suddenly, she shouted, Ling Yu, you chose this yourself. Before her voice could fade, the engine let out a huge roar. The sports car shot forward like an arrow from a bow, kicking up dust, swiftly leaving the cityscape behind. The car sped along the winding roads. After countless turns, Ling Yu finally saw the legendary manor. The manor sat on a vast expanse of land surrounded by endless fields and woods. Truly, there wasn't another soul for miles around. Was the garden meticulously designed? These are all my favorite flowers. Ling Yu leaned down, smiling broadly at her, his eyes filled with surprise and fondness. She gave a soft hum in her throat, the sound as faint as a mosquito's buzz, but a fleeting, almost imperceptible look of smugness crossed her face. I love it, thank you. Ling Yu straightened up and quickly kissed her cheek, as light as a dragonfly skimming water, yet it made her face instantly flush crimson. The intensity in her eyes faded, replaced by clarity and shyness, like a young girl experiencing love for the first time. Ling Yu took her arm like a couple deeply in love, and they walked towards the main house. The master bedroom had large French windows. Sunlight filtered through the sheer curtains, dappling the floor with patches of golden light. The curtains were pale lavender, and the entire bedroom was enveloped in this radiant purple light, Ling Yu's absolute favorite color. He looked at her, smiling, and teased deliberately. Is this my bedroom? Just as she was about to nod, he quickly added, Or is it our bedroom? Her face turned completely red like a ripe apple, and she started stammering. You? How could you be so? Ling Yu couldn't hold back anymore. He pulled her into his arms and kissed her lips again. It was a sweet and gentle kiss, like a spring breeze softly brushing against the heart, but soon the kiss deepened. Their breathing grew heavy and quick, like a kindling flame burning brighter and hotter. Instinctively, they learned to open their mouths, accepting each other, as if the entire world had dissolved, leaving only the two of them. Ling Yu couldn't help but place his hand on her back, his touch as gentle as stroking a frightened little animal, slow and tender. Again and again, an irrepressible gasp escaped her throat. The sound was like an electric current striking straight into Ling Yu's heart, making it suddenly beat faster. But before he could make another move, she seemed startled by her own gasp, freezing instantly as if petrified, unable to move. Her face turned red at a visible speed, flushing so deeply it seemed about to combust, like an overripe tomato ready to burst. Then she forcefully broke free from Ling Yu's embrace and scrambled away, her retreating figure like a startled fawn fleeing desperately, full of panic and confusion. Ling Yu watched her hasty departure with a smile, not chasing after her. He knew in his heart that she needed some time to adjust to this sudden intimacy, to calm the storm within her. It's all right. I have patience. There's plenty of time ahead for us to slowly get used to each other, to gradually find our rhythm. Not sure if it's just me, but feels like Ling Yu is way more confident. Maybe it's because Sister Zhen confessed. Reading these comments on the screen, a warm current flooded Ling Yu's heart, making him feel warm all over. These friends I've never met, though they only appeared in my life through scrolling bullet comments. Their companionship and encouragement gave me much courage and strength on this complex and winding emotional journey. It truly played an indispensable role in allowing me to believe so firmly in Yizhen's love for me. I have faith. Our Ling Yu and Yizhen will definitely be together. Hey, did you guys see that previous ending? Back then, Ling Yu was devastated after being dumped by that venomous woman Lu Shirshir. Yizhen couldn't express herself, loved him but wouldn't say it, so she locked him in the basement. I think Yizhen imprisoned Ling Yu because she initially wanted Ling Yu to be happy, but then realized the one surnamed Lu was no good at all, thinking it better for her to be with him herself. But Ling Yu didn't love Yizhen anymore by then. He even strongly disliked her. So Yizhen thought of locking him up first, and then, don't mention it, I cried so hard. Later, Ling Yu would rather die than submit, and literally starved himself to death. Yizhen went mad too, killing herself while holding Ling Yu's body. And then that damn manor was so terribly remote. Their bodies were never discovered, just left embracing each other until they turned into withered bones. Amidst the chatter of the bullet comments, Ling Yu seemed to see an alternate reality, a heartbreaking ending for Yizhen and him. Honestly, Ling Yu wasn't surprised. Without clearly perceiving her deep affection, if she suddenly locked him up, given his personality, refusing to submit even unto death is indeed something highly likely to happen. But thankfully, at this moment, he firmly believes in her love for him, and he believes in the bond between them. Ling Yu secretly vowed in his heart, this time I must walk hand in hand with her towards happiness, towards a completely different, beautiful ending. Ling Yu cast his gaze out the window. Vast fields of lavender swayed gently in the breeze like a purple ocean rippling with waves. Looking at this dreamlike, fantastical scenery, his heart filled with joy and tranquility, and he was full of anticipation for the future. Just then, the jarring ringtone of his phone shattered the quiet. Ling Yu pulled out his phone and saw it was his mother calling. Hey, mother. He answered the phone, his tone light and cheerful. His mother's voice came through the receiver, carrying a hint of worry and concern. Ling Yu, mother is telling you, Lu Shirshir is really not good marriage material. You absolutely must not be deceived by her. Ling Yu replied with a smile. I know. I never even considered being with her. Mother, what do you think about me marrying Yizhen? I really like her so much. Ling Yu continued, his face beaming with a happy smile, Yizhen's image appearing in his mind. Can our wedding be held in the courtyard where we first met? I remember it's Grandma Yi's old house. We have so many wonderful memories there, he said, immersed in beautiful daydreams of the future wedding. Who knew that after hearing his words, his mother would suddenly get angry? Ling Yu, I know you're smart, but don't use all your cleverness scheming against your parents. Do you like Lu Shirshir that much? Like her so much that you'd even return home and enter a fake marriage with Yizhen? Do you know, doing this will hurt Yizhen? Hearing this, Ling Yu immediately became anxious and quickly explained, Mother, what are you talking about? I genuinely like Yizhen. I never thought of using her, and certainly never thought of having anything to do with Lu Shirshir. His mother was silent for a moment. Then her tone became somewhat resigned. Fine. Do as you please then. With that, she hung up the phone. Holding the phone, Ling Yu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Thinking to himself, it seems getting mother to believe in my feelings for Yizhen is truly going to be a long and arduous task. Reporting. Sister Zhen heard every single word of that phone call too. Judging by Sister Zhen's expression, I get the feeling she believes Ling Yu wants to use her to escape again. Such an insecure woman. Seeing these comments on the bullet screen, Ling Yu sighed helplessly in his heart. It seems that getting Yijin to completely believe I love her will likewise be a challenging process. However, I won't give up easily. I believe that as long as we truly love each other, we can overcome any difficulty. Late at night, Ling Yu lay on a soft, large bed. All around was silent, save for the occasional sound of insects chirping outside the window. He gradually drifted into slumber. In the haze between sleep and wakefulness, he sensed a figure standing quietly by the bed. He glanced over with sleepy eyes. Seeing it was Yijin, he relaxed, reached out to take her hand, and mumbled drowsily, "What are you doing standing there? Come on up and sleep." Her breath hitched noticeably. She froze completely, as if his words had fixed her to the spot. Ling Yu was too sleepy to think much of it, so he just held on to her hand and fell deeply asleep again. In the state between sleep and wakefulness, he thought he heard her ask through gritted teeth, "Who do you take me for?" There was a hint of anger in her voice, mixed with a sense of grievance, but Ling Yu was far too sleepy, merely mumbled a few words and sank back in a slumber. When he woke up again, he discovered he was no longer in the bedroom, and now the bullet comments were exploding like fireworks, scrolling frantically across the screen. Finally awake. "Congratulations, Ling Yu. You've been imprisoned. Couldn't escape after all. A fate, a love. Excellent. It's the little black room, we're so doomed." Ling Yu slowly sat up and surveyed his surroundings. This was hardly a little black room. It was clearly a luxurious, spacious flat. The room was spacious and bright, equipped with every imaginable facility. Food was laid out neatly, toys were abundant, and the TV screen embedded in the wall was ridiculously large, several times bigger than the one in his living room back home. Just as Ling Yu was looking around in astonishment, Yijin appeared at the doorway. Her gaze was evasive, not daring to meet his, like a child caught doing something wrong, filled with guilt and unease. "Haha, Sister Zhen already went through with it. Why the guilty conscience now?" "Yijin," Ling Yu looked at her, a smile forming on his face, and deliberately teased, "What are you doing, keeping me hidden away in a golden cage?" She slowly shuffled in front of him, her head hung low like a defeated rooster, unwilling to look up or say anything. "If you want to keep me locked up all the time, fine, but you have to visit me every day and stay with me at night. I'm very afraid of being lonely, and if you plan to keep me here for life, you also have to take good care of my parents for me." Ling Yu reached out, hooked his finger around her nearby hand, swinging it gently back and forth as if comforting an injured kitten, trying to help her relax. Upon hearing his words, she looked up in astonishment, eyes wide, her face filled with disbelief, seemingly having never expected Ling Yu to say that. "Oh right, since you love me so much you've reached the point of locking me up, then maybe we could." Ling Yu gave her a suggestive look, a mischievous smirk on his face, wanting to see her reaction. Too bad she was dense as wood, completely failing to pick up on his hint. She just stared at him blankly, her oblivious expression making him both exasperated and amused. Ling Yu lost patience, grabbed Yijin's arm, and pulled her onto the bed. Terrified by his action, she started struggling desperately, flailing her arms, kicking her legs wildly, and letting out panicked cries. Ling Yu forcefully pinned her down beneath him and slowly leaned over her. At first, she was still struggling desperately, but soon she stopped moving, her whole body rigid like a stiff plank. Her skin also gradually took on a faint pink hue, like clouds tinged pink by the sunset. "What happened? Why is the screen censored? What's the big deal? The couple are doing something that can be shown. The sound gone too. Are they going that far? They can still get it in him like this? Seriously, they're really just two love brains. Well, like they say, every pot has its lid." I've noticed the more Yijin stalks, tracks, imprisons, and controls Ling Yu, the more excited Ling Yu gets. Lock them together, crazy should date crazy. In subsequent encounters, she seemed to gradually adapt to this intimacy, even shifting from passive to active. After several bouts of this, Ling Yu was utterly exhausted. In this pitch-black room, he gradually lost all sense of day and night, feeling only that time had become indistinct. Finally, Ling Yu held Yijin tightly, and fell into a deep sleep. Her body was a little cold, and Lingyu was like a small warm stove, nearly warming her through. After an unknown amount of time, the warmth in his arms suddenly disappeared. Lingyu subconsciously whimpered unhappily, but because he was so exhausted, he turned over and fell dead asleep again. Vaguely, he kept feeling that a pair of eyes was quietly watching him in the dark. The gaze felt reassuring and familiar. Then a pair of soft arms gently embraced him. Lingyu fell into a warm embrace, like a little bird returning to its nest. He curled up and fell peacefully asleep again. The silent basement was locked, leaving only a soft sigh behind, one that seemed to hold endless tenderness and love. After sleeping for an unknown time, Lingyu finally woke to find himself back in his bright, sunlit bedroom upstairs. Sunlight filtered through the thin curtains, falling warmly on his face like Ijin's gentle caress. Lingyu walked out of the bedroom. Ijin was in the living room, busy at her computer, her fingers flying across the keyboard. Hearing his footsteps, she looked up sharply, her gaze meeting his. A flicker of panic crossed her face, like a child caught sneaking candy. Seeing him, she first looked away awkwardly, as if avoiding something. Then she looked at his bare feet, frowning with a hint of reproach in her voice. "Put your slippers on." Lingyu couldn't resist whining playfully, deliberately drawing out his words. "Oh, I can't find them." Actually, the slippers were right by his feet. He just wanted to tease her. She sighed helplessly, got up, walked quickly over to him, and hugged him. Lingyu seized the chance to plant a kiss on her cheek, even making a deliberate mew sound, like a mischievous child. Blushing, she sat down on the sofa with Lingyu, then turned, found the slippers in the corner of the sofa, and put them on his feet herself, muttering as she did, "You're always such a handful." Smiling, Lingyu asked, "Why so shy after everything we've done?" As he spoke, he gently poked her flushed cheek. She avoided the question, her eyes darting away. "After breakfast, I'll take you to class." Lingyu wouldn't let her off the hook. He reached out and tugged at the corner of her clothes like a petulant child. "Not going to lock me up forever and ever?" Guilt written all over her face, she lowered her head, her voice small. "I'm sorry." Lingyu couldn't help but laugh, reaching out and tweaking her nose. "Ijin, how can you call that imprisonment? Real imprisonment is locking me in a dark room with chains and starving me. What you did at best could be called keeping a lover in a gilded cage, and an unsuccessful attempt at that. As for us last night, it can only be called a night of passion." Speaking of which, Lingyu suddenly thought, a trace of panic showing on his face. "Oh no, we didn't use protection last night. Could I have gotten you pregnant?" Her face instantly darkened, the light gone from her eyes, like all the spirit had been drained from her. She sank onto the sofa, silent. Damn it. She started to wallow in self-pity again. Feels like Ijin is a bit insecure. A bit? She's incredibly insecure. Believe it or not. Right now she's probably agonizing over Lingyu not wanting a child with her, and deriving from that Lingyu doesn't like her. Ijin said slowly, "Don't worry, I had a sterilization procedure." "I won't." Lingyu didn't notice the change in her expression, still talking excitedly. "If we had a baby, do you think it would look more like you, or more like me?" "Wait, what did you say you had done?" Lingyu's eyes widened, staring at her in shock, as if she had just spoken an alien language. He looked at Ijin stunned. Ijin looked back at him, equally stunned. "Lingyu, you're willing to let me be the mother of your child?" Her voice trembled slightly, tinged with a cautious, hopeful expectation. Lingyu almost laughed out of exasperation. He reached out and flicked her forehead lightly. "So, after all the times I've told you I like you, you didn't hear a single word?" Her eyes immediately reddened, welling up with tears. Like a wronged child, she threw her arms around him, murmuring, "So you really do like me?" She finally cried after all. "Lingyu, I'll cheer you on." Lingyu pushed Ijin back gently, holding her shoulders, and asked seriously, "Wait a minute, why did you get sterilized?" Ijin looked uneasy, her gaze flickering away. She whispered, "I didn't want you to have a child so soon, Lingyu. You shouldn't become a father this early. I want more time just for the two of us. And I was also afraid my body." Her voice grew quieter and quieter, the last few words almost inaudible. Incredibly touching. Compared to that idiot woman, don't even compare. They're not on the same level at all. Hold on. If I'm not mistaken, she got sterilized before she even got together with the male lead, back when she wasn't even sure he loved her. Watson, you've discovered a blind spot. Blind spot. Watson, you've hit the crucial point. Gasped. These two really are a match made in heaven. A pair of lunatics. Lingyu was both moved and unsure whether to laugh or cry. He pulled her face close and kissed her. Okay then, let's get married first and have kids in a few years, all right? Life returned to her eyes, dark and sparkling. She nodded hard, answering with a thick nasal. Yijin and Lingyu didn't get married right away. They waited until the end of his academic year. During this time, Yijin followed him everywhere like a shadow, afraid someone else would snatch him away. Many people came to the wedding. Yijin finally got her wish. She could openly hold his hand and introduce him to others as her husband. Her face was full of happiness, her smile brighter than sunshine. She clung tightly to his arm, unwilling to let go for even a second. Lingyu felt the same way. Looking at Yijin beside him, his heart was full of sweetness, feeling like the happiest person in the world. The bullet comments were still scrolling, but Lingyu had a gut feeling that perhaps after this wedding, he wouldn't be able to see them anymore. Finally caught up to the finale, feeling bittersweet, a bit reluctant to let go. Married life scenes. I want to see their married life. Forget it, it'll definitely be stuff they can't broadcast. Wait, are my eyes playing tricks on me? Did I just see that bitch, the villainous Lu Shirsher? I saw her too. What's that bitch planning to do? Lingyu turned his head and saw Lu Shirsher walking over. Her usually gentle and elegant face now looked somewhat ferocious, as if twisted by jealousy. Lu Shirsher loudly questioned Lingyu. Xiaoyu, were you forced into this? Did they force you to be with this sickly woman just to separate us? Please show some respect towards my wife. Lingyu responded angrily and coldly, his voice carrying an unquestionable authority. Lu Shirsher grabbed his wrist, her nails digging almost into his flesh. I don't believe you truly love her. Murmurs arose among the guests, like a flock of startled sparrows, all casting curious glances their way. Lingyu tried to shake off Lu Shirsher, but couldn't. She clung to him like a leech. Lu Shirsher also shouted her disbelief, her face flushed red. Xiaoyu, I know everything. I know you're suffering. I know you're forced into this while your heart is elsewhere. Wait for me. When I have power, I'll come back for you. Don't worry, I don't mind that you'll be divorced. Lingyu was utterly furious. He forcefully flung her hand away, leaving several red marks on the back of his hand. Let go. Who wants to be with you? With a smack, it was Yijin. Like a protective lioness defending her cub, she punched Lu Shirsher in the face. Drag her away, Yijin said coldly, her eyes radiating an inviolable dignity. Security guards came over and dragged away the still struggling and screaming Lu Shirsher as if carrying a chick. Lu Shirsher kept shouting, her voice growing fainter and fainter until it disappeared outside the door. Yijin frowned as she examined Lingyu's arm, where faint red finger marks left by Lu Shirsher were visible. It's okay, they'll fade soon. Lingyu reassured her, then couldn't resist teasing, unlike yours. One kiss from you leaves a mark that doesn't fade for a week. As he spoke, he pointed to the faint hickey on her neck. Her face reddened slightly. She gave him a playful, reproachful look and took his arm. Let's go, the ceremony is about to start. Lingyu smiled and asked her, how come you weren't jealous this time? She held his hand, placed it over her heart, letting him feel its strong beat, and said, I know you love me. She looked straight ahead where a large screen on the stage was playing a slideshow of photos of them together from childhood until now. There were so many they could play for days and nights without repeating. Each photo documented their memories. I hummed softly in agreement. Me too, she said softly, pressing the back of his hand to her lips. The touch was gentle and warm. Yijin, Lingyu suddenly called her name. She responded tenderly, her voice full of love. After the wedding, can we spend our wedding night in that basement at the City Manor? Lingyu asked her, feeling a bit embarrassed, his face flushing red like a ripe tomato. She immediately turned her head to look at him, a flicker of surprise in her eyes, followed by the corners of her mouth turning up in a mischievous smile. All right, just don't regret it. Speechless. Seriously, this couple is actually turning imprisonment into role play. Well, whatever makes you happy. I'm leaving my wedding gift here. I gotta go, Got an AM meeting tomorrow. Need sleep. Lingyu. Sister Zhen. My dear son and daughter-in-law. You must be happy. Lingyu smiled and silently replied in his heart. Yes, we will be happy, definitely.